I'll ask something. Unless you guys were ready to ask something.
No, go ahead. Start. I'll go right after.
All you, baby.
So how much of you is Wednesday Addams? No, I mean, what are your thoughts on the character? And I do wonder what you're bringing to her, do you feel?
Wednesday Addams is a legend. I think she's one of the coolest people on the planet, or whatever universe she's from. And I think something that I was very wary to, because I've never played someone who's been played by other actors before in the past. So that was a really interesting position for me to be in, and I think I learned a lot. But it's just important to me that whatever it was that I did was different. So whether that be certain mannerisms, whether that be the way that she handles certain social interactions, I think she's a bit more socially awkward, or a bit more a genuine misunderstanding for emotions or the way that other people go through them. So I think little things here and there, especially, I don't know, it was kind of crucial.
What's one thing we can learn from this series about Wednesday that maybe we didn't know before from other iterations?
Maybe her passion for mystery. I think the show is really guided on her wanting to be a detective, and her I think with someone who naturally has a serial killer's mind would genuinely be interested in that sort of thing. So I think it's really interesting to watch her. And something else I want to stress about the show too, because I never wanted it to seem like she was doing something out of the goodness of her heart, because that wasn't what it was. It was more genuine interest. You know, she's not. I don't think she was ever going out intentionally to save lives or to be a hero, but more so, oh my God, how is this guy actually pulling this off? Or like jotting down her own notes, sort of thing. And it was actually the frustration of not understanding, for the first time in her life, not understanding somebody else's actions when they're being laid out right in front of her.
Right.
Yeah.
So the big reveal in the trailer is that Christine Ricci comes back. What was it like working with her on set?
It was incredible. I had been a really great admirer of her work for a very long time. I think she's an incredible actor. And then also, I mean, I watched the films an obscene amount of times before we started shooting on the scene, so it's weird because I'd grown so familiar with her over the years, and to see someone like that in person and watch them work in person, it's really wonderful. And I think that she elevates you in a sense that, you know, not all actors can. And she's very generous, she's very sweet, and just honestly really cool person. She always has really interesting things to say, and you know, I don't think that Wednesday's impact would be half as monumental if it had not been the work that she did as a child, which is an incredible feat, and I feel really lucky to have worked with her.
So I want to ask, obviously, I feel like you're hitting the bingo card of horror movies. Like you're on a great run right now.
Thank you.
So what about the world of horror really appeals to you?
It's pure entertainment, it's pure fun. I think they're the best sets to be on because everyone wants to be there. And no one's taking themselves too seriously, because the whole point, I love all genres, I really do. And I do want to get into more drama, but the thing is, you're not trying to impress people necessarily, you're trying to give people a good time.
Right.
And I think when you make it too serious is when it gets kind of muddled and not as exciting, but you know, you want to give people that rush of adrenaline. And also, for some reason, I don't know what it is about my face, but people just seem to really want to throw blood on it. So I think, yeah, I don't know, I think that there's maybe something to that, and it's put me in that position one too many times, and I don't hate it.
And now we know why you were cast. That being said, Alan Miles, one of the things they've said about the character is that she sees the world in black and white, and that each season, assuming there'll be seasons, she'll get a little more gray, see the world in a little more gray as it goes on. Is that, you're looking at me like, I didn't know that.
I did not.
So how do you view her view of the world then, in the sense of what, like they're indicating that sort of a journey she'll be on to start seeing gray. What do you think?
I think that's a conversation to be had. I think it's true. I do think it's true to an extent, because another challenge of this series is to have her be the titular character and have the emotional arc to for an audience to spend so much time with someone for hour-long episodes, 8 episodes, you have to have some sort of emotional growth or arc as an individual. Otherwise, it's not going to be entertaining or exciting for anybody at all. So how do you do that with an emotionless character and still stay true to her background? Something that I was really scared of with the show is, or very hesitant to indulge in, was putting her in every typical teenage scenario ever and having her become that sort of thing. We had a lot of discussions about lines that were being said or situations that she was put in, because we've only ever seen Wednesday as a child. It's okay to be snarky, it's okay to be nasty when you're young because you don't know any better. When you're 15, 16 years old, you should know better, and it's not charming or cute anymore. So how you have to make it come from a place of genuine innocence and genuine excitement and passion for something. And I think that yes, she did have to form some relations this time, and she did a lot of emotional growth and has a better understanding as to, okay, so this is disrespectful, or I cannot get what I want by doing something like this. So I think that she's learning more about the world around her, because she's at a previous school, Nancy Reagan, she never had to go outside of that. No one wanted to interact with her, no one wanted to speak to her, and she preferred it that way. So I think that, yes, she has a lot to learn or a lot to grow, but I think more so just by the characters that she meets outside of her world, and then also I guess unfortunately having to become a functioning member of society to a certain extent. Yes.
Unfortunately. I love that.
So there's so many new characters introduced in this series. What was it like working with you with this huge legacy behind your character, and then other people who are completely fresh and built from scratch?
You mean just the process of new?
Yeah.
No, what was really exciting about it is because Tam and the DP and the guys, they really did such a great job as establishing not only character-wise but also just visually her separation and isolation, ostracization from a community. That it was really easy, and everyone on set was down to play, and I think that that's really important, and you kind of feed off of one another. And it's funny to see Wednesday in somewhere where she's a complete fish out of water, and I think that when you give someone nothing, when they're giving you everything, is the most fun dynamic and most interesting to see, and more that I think people want to relate to that and want to see themselves in that. So I think that when establishing these new characters, it was fun because we did have complete freedom, and nobody knew anyone, you're not tied to any barriers, you're not whatever. But also I was fortunate to cast with really wonderful actors who were able to push themselves in ways and just up for collaboration.
Is there much Adam's family interaction, or is it really kind of like Morticia and Gomez and Pugsley, whoever is going to be there peripherally, but it's really going to be Wednesday's?
It's definitely Wednesday's story. They're there for good relation, and I think what a beautiful image. And when you have the opportunity to do it with Louise Guzman and Catherine Zeta-Jones, you probably should take that opportunity. But it's definitely, I mean, she's sent off to boarding school, and I would say, like, one of the most important relationships in this first season is the relationship between Morticia and Wednesday, because I think any teenager can relate to, especially when they begin to go off on their own, the search or wanting to claim your independence and separation from your family. You know, as much as you may love someone, you still want to be your own person. And for Wednesday to attend a school like Nevermore, where her parents have such a history and everyone's obsessed with them and they're so great and they're so this and that, it makes you sick to your stomach. So I think that they play a very important role, but you do spend a majority of the time in the school.
I think from what you were just saying, Wednesday might really enjoy the idea of being on her own, not living in that shadow, essentially creating a legacy that's her own. Would you say that's the case?
Yeah, I would say that's definitely the case. I don't think she ever felt like, it's never like, I was in a shadow of my own family's personal shadow. I don't think it's ever coming from that place, but it's just like, get a grip. Like, these are a bunch of wimps. Like, they couldn't accomplish what I could accomplish, or they don't have, I think that she sees a successful future for herself, and it's hard when you're constantly being reminded of your parents' success, sort of thing. So yeah, it is just separating herself from that, not because she doesn't love them, but because she's capable and deserves it.
Yeah, I
How-
see that for sure. No, I'm sorry.
How heavy a burden is it to be sort of the centerpiece of a TV show like this? Or an 8-hour movie?
Yeah, I've actually led it. I've led a TV show before, and it's a lot. And I think with a character like I was fortunate to have that experience, but I think that this job required the most from me than any job I've ever had, because the pressure of her being such an iconic, beloved character, cello, fencing, archery, different languages, things like that, being in practically every scene, communicating with a hand that's not really there. Like, there was a lot that went into. It was, okay, do your 12 hours of this, come in 2 hours early for hair and makeup, then you have this lesson and this lesson after your work. And on Saturday, Netflix is going to come and you guys are going to do photo shoot and do this and that. It's like, we were shooting for 8 hours in a country that I did not know the language, on the opposite side of the world, so you can't really phone home because everyone's asleep when you're awake, and vice versa. It was like, yeah, it felt like by the time we ended the job, it felt like I had survived something, which was a great relief. But it's really hard because you just want to do this character justice, and you grow to really love and want to protect the people that you play. And I don't know, with someone as sacred of an image as Wednesday, I think there is a lot of pressure. I think if anything, it was just wanting to protect her more than anything.
Are you ready to do it again if they pick it up for a second season?
I think I have to be.
You can do it. Doesn't mean you're ready for it again.
I think
Would you want to go back into
I think
it again?
I think 100. I mean, I love her. I love her, and I've always been in love with her. I always have, and that was a big part of the reason why I even accepted the job, because I actually wasn't interested in doing television again. But the opportunity to work with someone like Tim, and I can't think of anybody else my age or anybody of Latin descent who reaches as big or has as big of a platform and adoration as Wednesday does. So the opportunities like this do not come very often, and I definitely wasn't expecting it, and I'm very, very grateful and honored to have even had my name thrown out there, let alone been a part of it for the last year. Yeah.
I got more if you...
I have one. So we were talking with Alan Miles about how this show blends so many genres, and it's not just so much the gothic, eclectic horror aesthetic that we've seen in the past. It's also a mystery show and a teen show. What was it like conquering that sort of blended genre in this show?
Again, it's really interesting to do that with someone who is written as not caring about the world around her at all. You have to care. But I mean, that's always fun for me because it's more exciting that way. That's what people want to see. The thing about television is it's an escape from reality. That's why we create shows that are so outlandish and strange, because you don't have to think about waking up for your 9 to 5 or going to school the next day or whatever project it is that you do. So it's like, yeah, as much as you can establish a world that is a roller coaster ride of experiences and emotions, I would encourage everyone to do that, because people want a good time, and I think that when a show is able to access all of the genres and not take itself so seriously, it can be a really beautiful thing.
My understanding is Tim Burton directed 4 of the episodes, the 4 hours of the 8 hours.
Yes.
So what was the difference between working with Tim and working with the other directors?
Just very different styles, and it was quite confusing because we did episodes 1 and 2, 6 and 5, 3, 4, 8 and 7. So it was, that's another thing too, navigating that emotional path. But I don't know, Tim, because he was the first up, he established everything, so everyone else kind of had to follow, which I think was interesting, and like, shout out to the other directors for stepping up to the plate and handling that, because I think that they did it wonderfully. But it is weird when everyone sees Wednesday. It's funny because she's a very obvious character. Everyone knows who she is in her heart. To try to enunciate that and express that, people, I feel they all wanted a little bit of a different thing. They all wanted to pull out different aspects. They all kind of wanted to make her own, which is kind of where I need to put my foot down as an actor and artist. But they all truly cater to the world so well, visually stunning, and I did have a wonderful time, and it's so nice being able to work with multiple directors and have different voices in the world, because it's hard to look at a performance or work through a performance objectively when you spend so much time with that person and you're so in your head about all the little things that you're doing. But I think we lucked out with the other two directors that came in, and they did a really great job.
And I can speak for everybody when I say we don't want to throw blood on your face.
Thank you. Thank you.
I hope that doesn't
Well, I know how to wash it off, so don't hold back.
Something she said earlier. People want to throw blood on it. I don't know. Okay.
Thank you very
Thanks
much.
for saying so. Thank you. So to jump right in, because I don't know how much time we have. Well, for you especially, what the experience of jumping into this character that has been around for so long, is there anything special about it rather than just playing another role, the fact that this is
No, man, I mean, listen, this is something I grew up on as a kid.
Yes.
I was saying earlier, I used to run home just to watch the Addams Family, you know, and seeing the movie and Raul Julia play it, and you know, stepping into this, I feel like I've come full circle in my career. This is the first time ever in my whole career that I've done a character that's been done before. You know, and I've been around for a minute, I think, right? And like I say, you know, I was never intending to duplicate what's been done. You know, because I don't think that's how you honor it. You know, I think you know it, you've seen it, now let's just live it. And that's what I did, and I could sum up Gomez in 2 words, man: love and passionate.
Yep. that's him 100%. I love it.
Is that good?
That's really good.
Gwendoline, to ask you the opposite question, because your character is built basically from scratch for this series. So what was it like injecting a sense of newness to the Addams Family world? And could you describe your character, since we don't have that frame of reference?
Yes, I play Larissa Weems. Larissa Weems is the principal of the Nevermore Academy. Larissa Weems attended the Nevermore Academy, so she's Nevermore Academy through and through, thoroughbred Nevermore Academy. Yeah, absolutely. And she is in charge of this school for misfits. Which of course is where Wednesday is enrolled, where Morticia Addams had also attended, and Gomez also attended, so it's their family school.
Graduated, hello.
Yeah, full graduation sensation. I really relish the opportunity to create a new character with Tim, who was so hugely collaborative, and Alan Miles, our brilliant writers. Also, the writing was great. I loved the scripts, but they were so open to what I wanted to bring to it. And you know, I was also a huge fan of the Addams Family growing up. To me, that spoke to me and seemed more human than other kind of more conventional depictions of families or people on the television. And so it was about my years of loving and relishing that family and that show, and then being able to put that through my mechanisms and what I came out with, and it was funny and strange to me, some of the references and things that seemed to make sense to me within that world, but Tim liked them and went with them, and I really loved exploring this woman who's in a position of power, who's having to deal with bureaucracy, who has a complicated relationship with one of her students. It was a lot of texture to it and complexity, and it's also a rip-roaring thriller. So you've got all of those elements to it, and it's fun, it's light, and that's right now, that's what I feel I need. That's what I feel I want to watch. I want that levity and that joy.
It's light, but it's also dark.
Yeah, it's a favorite combination of all.
Hello, you know what family we're talking about here?
That is true. So with Wednesday now attending, did it ever kind of feel like now it's a meeting of the minds between the principal and Wednesday? Because I kind of feel like they're both constants in the sense of I'm not budging, and it's like, well, I'm your principal, I'm not budging. How is the dynamic between the two of them?
I think dynamic is the right word for it. It's really so exciting as an actor to play, and as a woman, to play a relationship with another woman, a young woman who is so powerful, and the pair of you, neither of you will back down. And it's interesting just what comes out of that. And Jenna is such an incredible actor that she has huge range, and I love my experience of working with her and the relationship, and all sorts of things came out. It was real play, and getting to work with true icons, true legends like Louise Guzman.
Love that guy.
I never thought that I would have the opportunity to do that. And Catherine Zeta-Jones, it was really in the scenes, in the room, there was a great sense of playfulness, actually. And that's rare.
I just gotta say, I said it before, but watching this woman do her thing, I was like tantalized by her. Maybe she doesn't know this, but when we were in high school together, I had that crush. But
It could have been me.
it could have been you, honey.
Should have been me.
Yeah, I know.
We're watching Magic.
But you know,
We are.
You like blondes.
I don't want to open up a can of worms here, but no, she was a joy for me to watch all the time. She was like, yeah, I believe her as a headmistress.
Yeah, but a lot of people
School.
say that.
Notice how quiet it got after you said
Yeah, yeah. Okay, all right. Moving on.
Well, actually, if we could dwell on that just for a second longer, is it possible that we'll see flashbacks back to these high school days of your characters?
You gotta ask Al and.
Yeah, Alan Miles.
You're right over here.
Only Alan Miles. But I think they're having some. No, Alice is enjoying some still water.
You brought it up.
Sparkling.
I had to
I don't
ask.
know. I don't
Are
know.
you just gonna leave it at that?
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, asking about your relationship with Wednesday, what would you say is the relationship between father and daughter?
Well, I want my daughter to succeed. I want my daughter to continue the legacy of us going to Nevermore. You'll hear in the story that I guess Nevermore was the last option for her because she just about killed every other option. Literally. She was proud of that. And it took a little bit of convincing. And we had to pull a couple of strings to get her into Nevermore.
So I want to ask, so do they view Nevermore more as, a stepping stone of the family's legacy or a legit punishment for her actions?
Legacy, okay? Because it wasn't a punishment for me being there,
Right.
nor her mother, nor you, but yeah. And it's where her and my mother, her and my wife met. And I just think it's a beautiful thing that we showed up with our daughter and said, please, this is the place for you. Be here. You're in good hands. No pressure.
Time for one more.
No pressure.
You have, please.
Thank you so much. What's my question? No, I don't know how much you worked with him or not. Tim Burton directed 4 of this 8 hours, and then your other directors for the other. What was the difference between Tim Burton and those other people?
Well, man, Tim is so honed in to what he does. He gave me the most minimal of notes, really. Tim was like more visual, making just sure everything was right, and do that more, stuff like that, and then, but he was a joy to watch. I mean, he's iconic, I'm saying, my God, I'm being directed by Tim Burton. I've been directed by some great directors, you know, but you come across Tim Burton and that universe of Tim Burton, wow, holy shit. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
And then my other block was Ganja Montiero. She directed 2 of the other episodes. And she was phenomenal in her own right, because after every tape, she had like a little pad like that. She would come up and this, you know, she was like into the detail, you know, and I welcome that because, again, we said it, it's all a collaborative effort. You know what I mean? Like Tim works in his universe, and you're part of his universe. And when I worked with Ganja, it was still the Burton universe, but she was the conduit, and she would give you these incredible notes, or, you know, maybe do this way, or stuff like that. And it was just, I just welcomed it all. It worked, you know. And again, my God, man, we had Colleen Atwood doing all these incredible outfits. We had an incredible hair and makeup team. Listen, man, it's when you see it. I don't know if you guys seen it yet, but when you see it, you're gonna say, my God, just the whole texture. And then you lay in these characters, and then you lay in the story and the dialogue, and you just flow from there. It's going to be really entertaining and really different.
I don't think it's like any other TV show, because this is like an 8-hour Tim Burton movie.
Yeah.
And with that, you get not just the quality of the aesthetics, but you have the quality of an auteur who's worked for so many years and is a master of their craft. So you have a sumptuous movie.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Are we all going to lean into our recorders and say, holy shit?
Fuck yeah!
Even better.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
What?
Recording.
I'm singly recording.
I always love when it all gets slides in the middle. It's like poker. Here it is.
Sometimes with the high-tech stuff and the person being interviewed is like, oh, I want this. It's like really cool. Anyway, sorry. I have asked them questions. If you'd like to start, be my guest, and then I'll jump in.
Absolutely. Saw the trailer. Extremely excited for this series. I think one of the things I love most is its ability to blend the comedy with the horror aspects. How hard is the idea of trying to blend that to where the comedy doesn't fall flat and the horror really stands out?
Well, that's really the hat trick. I mean, and it's something that, you know, we certainly, when we were writing the script, was something that we were thinking about. But the thing with both comedy and horror is they're about timing and rhythm.
Yes.
So they're actually very similar. So I think for us, and we've always kind of mixed tones in everything we've done. So for us, it wasn't really, for executives, it was scary, but for us, it wasn't.
We didn't really think about it when
We
we were
really
writing
didn't,
it.
yeah.
It was very natural in terms of, we always saw the show as being comedic and also have horror elements. So it was very much a natural thing. So we were always surprised when we got notes about the one executive wanted to cut all the jokes out, all the black humor, all her sort of references to murder and suicide and death, and all you know, constantly getting notes to just eliminate all the jokes.
Which we ignored.
But it's interesting, and it's obviously it takes someone like Tim Burton to be able to pull off that tone.
Right. Because to me, there's so many horror movies, right, to where it's so poorly written that it's comical. It completely drowns out the actual horror element of it. But that's what I'm saying. That's what I love about what I've seen so far, is that it just blends it so well. And I like that you were saying you kept in the humor, because that to me is just Wednesday, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
you
That's the
need
essential-
that
that's the
when you're
essence of
stripping the
Wednesday.
character.
Yeah.
Right. So I appreciate keeping that in there.
You know, admittedly, the original show is old, as we know. Of course, I watched it, but anyway.
Makes you feel any better.
No, because I watched it much later than I did. But what is is there a challenge of people's memory of, you know, compared to what you're doing now when they hear the Addams Family?
Well, I think it's
having a good time.
always.
love Gwen.
I think it's like we did with Smallville. You want to reference and honor the past, but also bring to the future and be additive to the mythology of the Addams family, to the legacy of the Addams family. So we worked hard to make sure there were Easter eggs that people would, if they know the Addams family, would recognize. There were references to Charles Addams cartoons from the New Yorker magazine, and really being authentic to his original vision and illustrations, but also adding stuff and adding, I think, a whole new level with Wednesday as a teenager that hasn't been seen before.
Building off of that, I mean, when I heard the announcement, I just assumed it would be like every other Addams Family thing. But when I read the synopsis, I saw that it was more of a mystery. So, what genre or genres do you think the show qualifies as?
Well, there's a mystery. There's a teen, high school show, and then obviously a comedy. So again, I think it just blends all of
And
those
some
together.
horror?
Oh, and horror, absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Just need to make sure.
So it's definitely it's family drama, it's teen drama, it's high school drama, it's horror, it's gothic as well.
Yeah.
So I think all those, and it's Tim Burton, so you have all those elements blended
Tim
together.
Burton is a genre of its own.
It is.
Exactly.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
it's a religion and a whole thing of its
It's a
own.
lifestyle.
So going back a little bit to what you were saying about it, merging in the snap and everything. Was there ever like a kind of like an internal struggle of some people wanting it to be more modern, like maybe the theme song to be a little bit more modern, and you guys kind of like, we should just stick true to what it is and blend it with how modern today is, but not trying to make everything more modern?
No, because I mean, they read the script and loved the script, so it was all, we wrote the script. That's what they read. So it was all sort of there when everyone at Netflix was incredibly supportive of it. Because I think they could see how it could take something that's a 70-year-old franchise and sort of pull it into the present and it had a reason to be. A lot of times I think you see these things and you're like, okay, why did they remake that? So I think this one felt like it had a reason to be.
Because it's not a remake.
Yeah.
It's a chapter of a story you've never seen before.
Yeah.
And that's the important thing about the show. And that's the reason Tim did it, because he didn't want to do a remake of the Addams Family.
Right.
He wanted to do something different, and so did we. So that's the idea of adding to the legacy of the Addams Family. And we have a different theme. Danny Elfman did an original theme. There may be references to the original Addams Family theme, but it's very much its own thing.
Yeah.
And that's important that people coming to the show realize that.
In the script, in the process of writing the script, what other influences were there aside from the Addams family of media? Because when I hear Teen Girl Detective, my brain goes, Nancy Drew.
Right.
Or were there any other sort of cultural touchstones that you brought into it?
No, I mean,
Well, definitely the whodunit, like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Agatha
Yeah,
Christie,
Agatha Christie.
which we'd never done before. So
Yeah.
having to do that, and actually it's very complex in terms of the puzzle making and
Yes.
the red herrings and suspects and all this sort of making sure the show is populated with enough suspects that people would be like, I think it's that person, and then changing their minds. That was
Yeah.
interesting. And then we were trying to avoid any sort of Harry Potter references,
Yes.
which is as soon as we said boarding school, it's like, oh,
Supernatural ones.
yeah,
Right.
so that was also tricky. And I think, but we like the idea of a boarding school rather than a high school, because a boarding school offered the idea of maintaining the sort of the gothic nature of the Addams family, which we thought was important to the, rather than being a fish out of water in a high school, which is how the show opens. You see that version of the show, which we talked about, but I think this version feels much more in the sort of gothic vein of the Addams family. So it honors that, which I think was important.
What should Lee bring to the character of Wednesday? I mean, obviously you've got the character itself, but what is she bringing as Wednesday?
well, I think what Jenna had, and again, we saw hundreds of actresses for this, and she brought an intensity and an intelligence to it, and a focus, and it's like it felt, she approached it in a way the way Wednesday would approach it. So, and everything from her physical, like the posture, to what her voice was going to sound like. So all of that. So it's like, and you needed somebody who really brought that kind of intelligence and craft to it to bring it to life. And again, it's rare to find in a young actress, and she just had it.
Because it's basically it's the dramatic chops, but also the comedic chops.
Comedic chops too.
How would you, it's playing those jokes so they're funny, which is very difficult. So it was a one in a million that we got Jenna, and I think the show works because of she is Wednesday. That's no question.
Yeah.
Without her, we always need that. I had long conversations with Tim about this. About if we didn't get Wednesday, there's
Yeah,
no
if we
show.
don't find her, there's no show. Your script's great, but if we don't find her, no show.
And I believe she now will become iconic to the role Wednesday, because it's synonymous, because everything I saw from the trailer is just, that's Wednesday. Like
Yeah.
now there's a whole generation that's their Wednesday.
Yeah.
And that was nailed perfectly.
That's what we used to say about Smallville. One generation's heresy is the next generation's gospel. So that's how it works.
Oh, okay. So you, Adam's Family kind of has a built-in ensemble, but this show brings in new characters. What were the challenges in introducing a whole new kind of ensemble to the Adam's Family world?
Well, I think for us, it's, as Miles said, we wanted to put it in Nevermore, which is a school in the outcast world. So it had that Adamsy feel, and then like a lot of kids who go away to boarding school or to college, their friends become the new family. So it's Wednesday building a new family at this school.
So then, when actually creating the characters, is making sure they feel that they would live in the world of the Addams Family.
Yeah.
Great.
All right.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good to see you.
Thank you.